I walked down to the beach this morning after breakfast, thinking that it would be nice to say hello to the ocean. I was more tired than I thought I was. Little things seemed like they were more trouble than they were worth. Things like rolling up my pants so I could get close enough to touch the water without getting soaked. And then as I got close to where the waves were washing up onto the beach, I saw a bee squirming in the sand. It was wet and it was on its back, legs flailing. I thought to myself, this bee needs my help. Another wave is going to creep in soon, and unless I pick him up, he will die. But instead of immediately following through on that thought, I hesitated, because I started to worry that if I picked him up in my hand, he would sting me. A wave suddenly washed in over the bee, and I stepped back to avoid getting water on my pants. I thought that maybe the bee had been swept out to sea, but when I looked down again, he was still there, squirming on the wet sand. So I scooped up a big handful of sand, and the bee was still squirming on top of that pile, and my hands were safely away from his stinger. I started to walk back to the boulevard to find a safe place for him to dry out, but as I looked up for just a second, I felt the pile crumble in my hand, and the bee fell off into the dry sand at my feet. To be honest, it seemed to me for a brief moment that this bee was going to die anyway, and I considered just walking away. But then I thought that I didn't want anyone to step on the bee and get stung, because that's happened to me before and it's no fun. So then I thought about digging a little hole and just pushing the bee into the hole so no one would accidentally step on it. Then my conscience reminded me that this bee had a chance to live, and I was here in this moment with the opportunity to help. So I scooped an even bigger pile of sand up and carefully continued walking towards the concrete boulevard. Now he was covered in soft white grains of sand and looked even more wretched than before, flailing around. I got him over to a waist-high concrete ledge under a pylon of a large lifeguard structure, and I gently tipped the top of the sand pile onto the sunlit ledge and watched the bee roll away from the sand onto a clean area and continue to squirm. You feel kind of helpless when a bug is squirming in front of you, because there isn't much you can think of to do, and you don't want to touch it with your finger because you don't want to crush it, and because you're scared of the stinger, and maybe you blow a little bit to try and get some sand off, but that doesn't really work. So you just lean in close and quietly say, "Good luck, Mr. Bee. I hope you dry out nicely in this sun and that you shake off all those grains of sand and that you fly off and find some food and maybe another bee to spend some nice time with." And then you walk back to the hotel because you're suddenly feeling even more tired than you thought you were.